So proud of me.
All right, Cagebreakers, we out here. This is the Cagebreaker Show. Not everybody's an athlete, but you can learn a lot from an athlete. And today I have a special guest, somebody who's just truly been on the forefront of this basketball movement and helping these young athletes. Somebody who's man, his basketball expertise is through the roof. His IQ, his knowledge of the game, his journey. He's played professionally, coached professionally, just gives it his all. I'm thankful to have him on the show. So with no further ado, we have Mr. Xavier Silas. How you doing?
Man, I'm good, man. Appreciate you having me on. I've been rocking with you as much, whatever I can do to keep the movement forward, keep going forward. That's what I'm gonna do. So I appreciate you having me on.
I appreciate you, man. And shoot, just for the people who don't know, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Man, well, originally, I'm from Texas. Grew up there in Austin, and then started my basketball journey. Went to Brewster Academy, which has turned into prep school powerhouse, and then went to Colorado for 2 years. Played for Patton and Basdelic. Then went to Northern Illinois with Coach Patton. Finished out my career, and then it started, man. The professional career started. Played 9 years. Played NBA, Europe, Asia, South America, G League, All-Star. And then I got into coaching fairly early. For my age, I stopped playing, started coaching, and now I'm currently the offensive coordinator for the Motor City Cruise, which is a Detroit Pistons G League team. So, been around, done a lot of different things, and I'm just blessed and grateful to be here.
Yes, sir, man. And I have to ask you, you know what I mean? Like, how was it? Like, and this is about you, but I have to ask you this question. So many people in this game play the game, but it's only a rare group of people who have it where they were born into the game for real. Like you have Steph, Seth with their dad, Dale. You have just a rare group of people. I mean, even now people are talking about LeBron and Bronny. Bro, you're in that fraternity, bro. Can you tell us like what it was like having a father who played, in the NBA with the Spurs and you coming up in Texas and you just finding that love of the game?
It's funny. People ask me this question and I always say I don't know anything different, right? Like he's always been my dad. Since I've been alive, his jersey's always been hanging in the Spurs arena. He's always been the first one to have his jersey retired by the Spurs. And so, like, I don't know anything else, right? And so, I think that, of course, it was a benefit to me in the basketball world to have that knowledge right down the hall growing up. But I also didn't know anything else. I didn't know anything different. I don't know what it's like to not have him as my dad. You know what I'm saying? So, but what was it like? He was tough. I don't know if whoever seen him coach on the sideline, that doesn't turn off. That competitiveness doesn't turn off. I'm not sure he can be one of those coaches that can be mic'd up in the timeouts because he goes in and that's just how it was. That's how he was. That doesn't turn off as him being a dad. He pushed me, taught me everything, but there were no shortcuts. And that's why I wanted him to be the coach at Colorado Prep, because I knew I was building a foundation and I knew that he wouldn't take any shortcuts. And one thing is for sure is he's going to play to win. And there's been plenty of times where I was playing for him growing up and he didn't play me. I set the bench for tournaments at a time. My mom was mad at him at the house. He didn't care, right? And so it was great, and our relationship back then is a lot different than it is now. We're best friends now, but it's tough growing up with someone who's not gonna stop pushing you, right? And but it was great. It was a great learning experience. It was great, and like I said, I'm grateful for the opportunity to do that and to have that to have that blessing. It really was a blessing.
Facts, man. A great guy, a true leader and a real coach. And Colorado Prep has an amazing coach, and I definitely want to give him his flowers because again, first to have your jersey retired by the Spurs, like, bro, that's like That's Black history right there, and we gonna highlight it right now. And you know, your father's a great coach, and I want everybody out there who's listening, who's going to be watching this, understand this man, his own, like he didn't play his own son. He didn't play his own son. You was on the team. Your dad didn't even play you some games. But it makes you stronger. And I like that he did that earlier on, because a lot of people feel like they're entitled and they want to play. I like that real coaching, and your dad is a real coach.
Nah, no, he not. There's no favoritism. He gonna play to win, and whatever decision he makes is to win. Period.
Yeah.
And I've been through it. You know, I've been on the other side of it. And, all the. I was on the team with the homies. He playing my homies over me. You know, like it's he didn't care, but we were gonna win, and he was gonna do what he thought we needed to do to win. And so, you know, I took that from him, and especially being a coach now. You know, I have that trait of his. I don't care. I'm trying to win. I don't care who it is. It can be, we can play with 3. If that's going to guarantee us to win, we're going to do that. You know what I mean?
Facts. And you know, just moving forward on this topic, I have to ask, you know, your dad played in the NBA, played for the Spurs, jersey retired by the Spurs. Great man. What's the most important thing he has taught you?
Man, it's so many. I'll probably think of 10 later on, you know, but the one thing that sticks out to me that he told me during my playing career, and it was a struggle, you know, it's a grind, you know, and he said, you chose this path, now walk it. He said, you chose this path, now walk it. So, you know, for me, that I've always took that as, if you're going to do something, do it. You know, if you're going to do something, don't whine about it, don't complain about it, don't make up excuses, do it. You know, and so that's probably the biggest thing that sticks out right now. But, you know, out of all the years, I'm sure there's some other stuff as well.
No, man, that's fitting, and it fits with you and your journey. You know what I mean? And the places you've been, it's like you could have gave up a long time ago, but you kept going. You kept, you know, pushing. You kept grinding. You kept figuring it out. Like I said, you've been all over, bro. And you haven't given up, man. And your resume, it speaks for itself. So
I appreciate it.
Yeah, shout out to Pops for that advice, man. And moving forward, you know, you grow up in Texas, you do your thing in high school. What was it that made you pick the University of Colorado?
Oh, you know, it was a lot of different things, man. One, they were in the Big 12 back then, and you know, I'm from Texas, so I was able to come home and play Texas A&M, Baylor, Texas Tech. Those were all driving distance from my family. So I got 4 brothers and 1 sister, and they all live in Texas. So for me, that was huge to be able to go somewhere where we were going to play in the state of Texas. The next thing is Coach P. You know, Coach P he reminded me a lot of my dad, and that's what I liked about it. You know, he was old school, straight to the point, tough, hard on you, and that's kind of what I was used to, so I could relate to him. And then, man, when I went on my visit and went to Boulder, it's tough. It's tough not to say yes to Boulder when you're on a visit. And back then, they were ranked when I was a senior at Brewster's. They were, I think, 22nd or something. You know, Rich Roby and Chris Copeland and that crew, Marcus Hall. You know, that crew was killing, and it was just a good time. It was a good time to go to CU. They were on to something. And the biggest thing probably that I'm leaving out is that I had the opportunity to play, you know, as a freshman. Like he of course, Coach P didn't guarantee me anything, but he said, look, you got a chance to fight for it. And, you know, that's all I need to hear is a chance. And so I fought for it. And I think 3 or 4 games in, I was starting. Actually, what's funny is that my first start, I started against Northern Colorado, against Will Figures, right? And Will Figures was the man, right? He was the man, Smoky Hill, unanimous, all Big Sky, you know, and we ended up, now we're currently brother-in-laws. We married sisters, which is funny. So we always talk about that game. And but he was tough. He was little, but he was tough, man. And so it's pretty significant. But those are the main things, man, that made me do it. Playing was at the top of my list, and then being in the conference that it was, and I was able to come home. That was it.
What went into starting as a freshman at the University of Colorado?
You know, I think one thing sticks out to me. You know, I was always a hard worker, man. Like I worked. Shout out to Sundance Wicks. He's currently an assistant coach at Wyoming, and they're killing it right now. But he was an assistant coach. It was his first D1 job, and I was a freshman, and we kind of were coming into it at the same time. And I would just hit him like, yo, I need to get in the gym. Like late, midnight, early, whenever it made sense, I was trying to get in the gym extra. And I think that had a lot to do with it, and just how hard I played. The one thing that sticks out in my freshman year when I was fighting for a spot is I always wanted to guard Rich. I always wanted to guard Richard Roby. And I was on the second team, and I remember a ball was rolling out of bounds in practice, and I dove into the scores table. It was in practice, but it was into the scores table. And I remember Coach P said, man, this MF wants to start. He wants to start. And so, you know, ever since then, I've always been like, man, if you want something, you got to work for it. You got to take it, really. You got to take it. You got to take it. And so that's my mentality. That's what I was always doing. And that is what sticks out is me diving into that. That's the memory. I don't remember much else about my freshman year, but that memory before, when I wasn't starting, and those late nights with Sundance Wicks are the two things that stick out.
Man, that's that effort. You can't coach effort.
Nah.
It's hard.
Nah.
You either got it or you don't. Man, and you brought up what was the coach's name at Wyoming right now?
His name's Sundance Wicks.
Sundance Wicks. Okay. Sundance Wicks. So he was like, there's a quote that says like when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Coach P is a legend, but Sundance Wicks, like, what was the most important thing he taught you? Man,
you know, this could get deep because he's one of my best friends and has been since then. He challenged me. I was thirsty when I first got on campus. I was thirsty. You know, I wanted to be better. I wanted to learn. So I would go to his office, and he would have all these books in there. He would have all these books, man, and they were different books about different stuff. It wasn't just basketball, coaching books. It was like different types of stuff. And so I think the biggest thing that I learned from him is the importance of reading. You know, the importance of reading and trying to develop your mind, body, and soul and spirit. You know, we all as athletes always developing the body. That's what we do. But how can we develop the mind? How can we develop the soul? How can we develop the spirit? And that's the biggest thing he taught me. You know, I was reading, you know, The Alchemist with Paulo Coelho. Then we got into The Warrior of the Light. You know, then we got into The Pilgrimage. And it's just like, it's a lot, man. It can go. And so I got to the point, freshman year, I didn't know anything about reading. Senior year, I was reading Warrior of the Light every game day. The whole book. You know, the whole book. It would be like 2 hours. I sit there, I read the whole thing. And, you know, I was fortunate enough to lead the NCAA in scoring my senior year. Me and Jimmy were going back and forth.
Yes.
And I attribute a lot of that to that, you know, because I was just locked in on a different level. I was locked. You know, I didn't care about nothing else other than doing what I needed to do.
Bro, thank you for sharing that. That's what I be trying to tell people. Like, people just think, especially these young kids, they think you can just show up and rely on your athletic ability alone. You have to have that sixth sense.
Yeah.
And that's what you developed, and you led the country in scoring.
Yeah.
Man, that's power. Shout out to Sundance Wicks for that. And you both still continue on doing your thing. So, bro, that's powerful, man. That's powerful. I have to ask, building off that, because I have to do this. You have Sundance Wicks, you have, Coach Pete. How important is it to have good character as an athlete? The reason why I ask you this, bro, is because you had two great coaches who you still are in touch with today. And also, these coaches is legends, and they name hold weight. You have a lot of kids who will burn bridges with a coach. Talk about the importance of coaches and just having that good character down the line. You know what I mean? Because you're going to need them.
Yeah, I think that it's just important for your legacy. You know what I mean? Just your legacy in general. Who are you? And character, I think Coach P actually said this, his character is who you are when no one's watching. And I know that I don't think that that's his quote, but I know that he would say it all the time. And it's the truth. And so, it always comes back, man. It always comes back. Whatever you do always is going to come back in the basketball world. And so, you just got to treat people how you would want to be treated. That's the golden rule. And as long as you do that, you'll be good. But the people that burn bridges with coaches, don't treat people the right way, or just don't keep it real, that's not going to get you ahead in this game. Not in this game. Not in sports, Like, you can't weasel. I don't know if weasel is the right word, but you can't politic your way up into something in sports, because you can't. It always comes down to being on the field or on the court, period.
Yeah, you
and
can't
what
finesse
you do, you can't finesse it at all. There's no finessing it. So, you can get in certain situations and politic your way and finesse your way in a certain situation, but at the end of the day, it's gonna be how you perform. That's all anybody ever cares about. That's it. It always comes down to what was your performance, right? And so the character, how character goes into that is, nobody wants to watch a performance from an asshole. Period. They just don't, That's why Ye's having the trouble he's having, right? Because he's the greatest. He's probably the greatest creator we've seen in art, but people are off him. Why? Because he's wilding, And so it's all about balance. It's all about balance. And so you have to be a great performer, because that's what it is, man. A lot of people get it twisted. This is entertainment. We're entertainers. Right? Athlete you're putting on a show. People pay money to come see you. You know what I'm saying? So you have a certain responsibility when it comes to that. There's a certain showmanship that comes from that. And with showmanship comes character. Facts. You can't be a bad person. You can't be treating people any kind of way, and be successful in this thing. You just can't.
Not at all, bro. I have to I'm gonna double back real quick, because man, I want to grasp this. Sundance Wicks, who is coaching in Wyoming right now. When you were a freshman, he was just starting out as CU coaching. He used to open up the gym for you. Can we talk about that one more time real quick? Because I don't think people understand. You were doing the unrequired.
No doubt. Well, he was too. That's the thing. Like he was too. He. Now that I know what it takes to be a coach, the hours you actually put in, players, as a player, you don't really understand the hours that go in for coaching and what they do behind the scenes. You just kind of show up, do your thing, warm up, boom, and go home. But the coaches are there hours before you leave, hours after. And now looking back at it, for him to come back after I'm done with class, after I'm done with whatever, when it makes sense, because that college schedule is crazy. So when it makes sense and everything calms down, definitely after dinner, go back to the gym, get it in, work on stuff. We in there for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, you know, and he was at Northern Illinois with me too when I went with Coach P, and, you know, we were making 1,000 shots a day, making 1,000 shots a day, not taking, making. So even if I'm shooting 50%, which is good, you know, I'm shooting a lot of threes, that's 2,000 a day, every day. And so, you know, it takes sacrifice from everybody. And one thing that I've learned from him is servant leadership. Servant leadership. You got to serve in order to lead, right? And so, you know, he did it for me. I do it now for younger guys, you know, and that's just what it is.
Man, I love it. I love it. You we talked about it a little bit earlier, but you led the nation in scoring. That's a big deal, you know. You're at the University of Colorado with Doc P. He leaves, he goes to Northern Illinois. You go there too.
Mm-hmm.
You ball out, first team all conference, but
Mm-hmm.
you led the entire NCAA in scoring. How did that happen? What went into that? What does that look like?
Well, I think, you know, the main thing is the work. You know, back then you couldn't transfer and just play, right? So you had to sit out. You know, coming from the old school, you had to sit out. Can't just go get right to it. So I told myself I'm just going to shoot more shots and make more shots than everybody else in the world. That's what I told myself. So that's where we came up with I'm making 1,000 a day. I'm gonna make 1,000 a day. No one else is doing that. And if I do that, then I'll lead the country in scoring. And that's what I did. And, you know, I got hurt. I hurt my shoulder, tried to play through it. I think I had like 14 or 15 points in 2 games. It brought me down. So I ended up being 6th or 5th at the end of the year. But during the year, me and Jimmer were going back and forth. And that's how I knew Jimmer before I knew Jimmer, you know, because I would go check and we were checking each other's points. But I think that the main thing is, and to answer your question, man, you got to work harder than everybody else if you want something that everybody else doesn't have. It's not rocket science. You have to do more than everyone else if you want more than everyone else. That's just it. And so that was my formula, and that's how it worked out for me.
Man, making 1,000 shots a day. Yeah, you worked for it. You earned it.
Had to. You had to, or it wasn't gonna happen. You know?
You know, you get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Adversity hits. Talk about going from Northern Illinois to the NBA in that journey.
Yeah, man. I mean, coming from Northern Illinois, draft comes. I don't get drafted, but Philly calls me at the end of the first round and says, look, we don't have any more picks, but we want you to come in. If we had more picks, we would have taken you. We don't have picks, but we want you to come in. We want you to come to vet camp. We want you to be a part of the team. But, you know, what was crazy was it was a lockout year. And so after that draft, after that conversation, I couldn't talk to them until the lockout was over. So I think it was from June until November, December, where we couldn't talk. And so, you know, they had said that, but I didn't have a contract. You know, I didn't, you know, so I went to France with the NBA out, which means that I can leave whenever for the NBA in my contract. I went over there. I played in France for a little bit in my rookie year. And then when it was done, when the lockout was done, I came back and I went to camp, did all of that, played well, all that. And they said, yeah, but we're going to send you to our D-League team for now, and then we'll bring you back. And so it was kind of like 2 ways before 2 ways. And so then I went there, grinded, played. Shout out to Maine because they have an amazing fan base and they have amazing support. And then they called me back, and I ended the year with them, and we it was right before the process. So we had Lou Will, we had Evan Turner, we had Drew Holiday, we had Andre Iguodala, Elton Brand, and we beat Chicago in the first round. Derrick Rose went down with that injury, right? We beat Chicago. Then we played Boston, which was the big three: Paul Pierce, KG, and Ray. And we lost in Game 7. So, we were right there about to play Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals. So it was. I'll tell you a story. The biggest story that sticks out in that time was I end the season with them. I'm playing a lot because they've clinched, so I'm playing with the Sixers. And then playoffs come and they say you're not dressing, right? So I'm over there in a suit for the whole first series in Chicago. And Northern Illinois is probably from Denver to the Springs, from Chicago to DeKalb, Illinois, where Northern is. And so all my friends are there. I got friends, I got people, I'm fresh out of school. So, and I'm in a suit. And so, I mean, it's exciting, but it's still kind of embarrassing. So the whole time I'm grinding, like the whole time. And I'll never forget, we're in a line to shoot. We're coming from the baseline and we're curling into the elbow for shots, right? And it's in a shoot around. And Lou Will's behind me and Andre Iguodala's behind him. And I hear Dre say, "Hey, why he going so hard?" Right? And this is the last game, or no, I'm sorry. This is the first shoot around against Boston. So Chicago had already happened. And Dre said, "Hey man, why is he always going so hard?" And I'm talking about full speed, skirt, shot. Every time it's my turn, everybody else chilling. It's shoot around. Everybody else is chilling. I'm going, shoes squeaking. And after that, they pull me aside walking in. We're done. People got ice on, pull me aside and say, "Hey, you're dressing. You're dressing for this series." First series in ball, he said, "You're dressing." The assistant coach. Lou Will and Dre are still behind me, and Lou Will said, "That's why. That's why." And that's so, that's kind of like my MO, and I learned that way back when I was a freshman trying to get that spot. You know what I mean?
That's powerful. Oh my God, bro. That's powerful, bro. That's powerful. That's powerful, even for me, because I know at times stuff like that happen. I'll be too cool. Oh, I don't want to ruffle any,
Right.
You know what I mean? I knew it. Wow, bro, that's powerful. Woo. Yeah, okay.
The thing I tell the Colorado Prep guys all the time, you ain't gonna get nowhere being cool. They're not paying anybody to be cool. Now when it comes down to basketball, I don't know about much else, but I know basketball, and they're not giving out any checks or scholarships for coolness.
Oh my goodness.
That's not it. So that's just part of it.
Oh my goodness. They're not paying you to be cool. Facts. That's huge, bro. So, man, Lou Will, real quick, I gotta ask you, like, being, playing with Lou Will, like, what was the most important lesson you learned from Lou Will?
Oh man, Lou is just a prolific scorer, man. I think that the biggest thing, and it was basketball, but was how to draw fouls and the importance of drawing fouls. He learned everything from AI. So AI was his vet. And he was just saying, look, anytime they touch you, you got to die. Anytime they touch you, you got to die. And you always put yourself in a situation where you can draw a foul. And so if you ever look at Lou, he always gets to his spots for sure. But he definitely always can draw a foul and get to that line. And the importance of getting to the line, getting your rhythm. I mean, that was the biggest thing I learned from Lou, for sure.
Thanks, man. Shout out to Lou. So, man, you get that opportunity. You take advantage, go on the journey again. You end up with the Boston Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that.
Yeah, man. It was a long time in between that Sixers and Celtics thing. It was like 2,200 days, right? I counted them. It was like 2,200 days. And so, you know, right after that playoff series, we lost in Game 7. I played summer league with the Sixers, and not a lot of people know this, but I fractured my skull in summer league, and that was kind of like the beginning of the comeback. So played in summer league all 5 days. Played because in Orlando we played 5 days straight, right? And it was Friday. It was the last game, second half of the last game. I fractured my skull. They had to cut across my head. Pull my face down, pick out all the bone that was fractured, put a titanium plate right here, right? Titanium plate, put it back, sew it, then put 57 staples across, right? And so, needless to be said, they didn't think I was going to play that year, right? And I had to sit and be a couch potato because I couldn't get my blood pressure above a certain amount. So basically, I came back from that, tried to play in training camp. So that happened in July. I'm trying to play in training camp in October. I hadn't done anything. They cut me. I go back to the D League, grind, go overseas, grind, come back to the G League now, grind, become an all-star, get Team USA to represent the country in the World Cup qualifiers against Mexico and Puerto Rico and Cuba. And after that, I get the call to go with the Celtics. And so when I say like it was a grind where I had to go to Greece, I had to go to Argentina, I had to go to Israel, you know, I had to go to Germany, I had to play for 2 G League teams, you know, to get that call. That's what it took. And so once I got the call, it was more like I had to prove it to myself that I could get back. I had to prove it to myself because at the end of the day, during that 2,200 plus days, nobody really thought I was gonna get back. You know, it was really only me believing, me and my mom.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Me and my mom. That's it. And so, you know, there was a lot of NBA teams that they weren't thinking about me, but I had to stay resilient and get back. And so once I did that, I kind of got my thirst was quenched. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My thirst was quenched.
Man, I had no clue.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know, man. Wow. So let me put this in perspective. So you fracture your skull.
Mm-hmm.
They have to go in, get all the fragments, 57 stitches.
Mm-hmm. No, they had the stitches was more than that. Then they had the staples.
Oh, 57. So
yeah,
stitches and man. Bro, why you talk about belief and resilience, and I kind of want you to talk about it. How important or how significant was that belief and that resilience to you? Because you don't see people coming back from that.
Man, I'm just unrealistic. I'm just an unrealistic person, man. I see things and I think that I can do them. And it's not like there was no prep schools in Colorado. It was not even a thought. But I'm like, nah, like we can do this. Like I see things and I see these visions and they're clear and I just go after it and I don't stop until it's done. You know what I'm saying? Like I told myself Colorado Prep is going to be a top 25 school. And we're not there yet, but we're going to be a top 25 school. Like I told myself I'm going to play in the NBA again. Well, I played in the NBA again. You know, I'm telling myself I'm going to be a head coach. Well, I'm going to be a head coach. Like, I just believe in it, and I'll do whatever it takes. And when I say that, I mean put the work in. Whatever work I have to do, I'm going to put it in. Like, or die. Or die. That's it. That's it. Like that's just my focus, man. That's where I'm at. That's what I do. And so if I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna figure out how to get it done. I'm gonna figure it out. Period.
I love it. Unrealistic. Shoot, I'm unrealistic. I love that, man. I love it. Society, that's the cage break, bro. You a cage breaker, bro. That's the thing, because they're gonna put you in a cage. And no, nobody's ever did this before. No, this hasn't been done. Just do it this way. It's like, no, I'm breaking out of it. My guy, and for the people out there, man, my guy, man, fractured his skull, major, about 100, I'll say 100 plus 200 stitches, 57 staples. Had to recover from that, a fractured skull, had to sit out, had to recover. Then he went to Argentina, went to Greece, went to Israel, all overseas, grinding. And then he made it to the Boston Celtics, the NBA. That's willpower, that's heart, that's belief, and that's believing in yourself and being unrealistic. And I love it.
So proud of me.
So proud of me.
They're so proud.